If NFL teams had a time machine and got a do-over on their first overall picks, history would look a lot different today. Now, 25 years into the 21st century, how about we take a trip down the world of what-ifs and redraft every NFL first overall pick since 2000? Without any further ado, let's hop right into it. 2000, Tom Brady. There is zero guarantee that Tom Brady would have the same success with the Cleveland Browns, which he enjoyed with the New England Patriots and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But still, this is a list based on hindsight, and there is absolutely no way that the Browns would pass on the GOAT in a do-over. The Browns used the number 1 pick of 2000 on Penn State defensive end Courtney Brown, one of the biggest busts in NFL history. Something tells us that the Browns would have preferred to get first dibs on the guy who won 7 Super Bowls and 3 MVP awards, who retired with every major passing record. Just call it a hunch. 2001, Michael Vick. We know. Vick's infamous dogfighting scandal and prison time derailed his once glorious tenure with the Atlanta Falcons. But prime Michael Vick was really something else, and he breathed new life into the franchise by leading them to 2 playoff appearances, including a trip to the 2004 NFC Championship game. The other thing to consider is the domino effect. Vick's prison sentence and departure from Atlanta forced them to take quarterback Matt Ryan with the number 3 pick in 2008, and Matty Ice went on to become the greatest QB in franchise history. 2002, Ed Reed. As the NFL's 32nd franchise, the Houston Texans were awarded the top pick in the 2002 draft. Too bad that they put it to poor use, drafting a mega future draft bust in Fresno State quarterback David Carr. And then there's Ed Reed, arguably the greatest safety in NFL history, who fell to the Baltimore Ravens at number 24 overall. Yeah, I think the Texans could have used this 9-time Pro Bowler and 5-time first-team All-Pro who racked up 64 career interceptions and 139 pass breakups. 2003, Andre Johnson. The Cincinnati Bengals already had one of the game's top wideouts at the time in Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson. But we can't help but wonder how much better the Bengals would have been if they had Hall of Famer Andre Johnson working alongside the 6-time Pro Bowler. Carson Palmer, the real number 1 pick of 2003, had a good but not so great run in Cincinnati. In our hypothetical exercise here, the Bengals formed the dream Johnson-WR pairing and used a first-round pick on one of the top quarterback prospects in the 2004 draft class. 2004, Larry Fitzgerald. The San Diego Chargers used the number 1 pick on Eli Manning and then flipped him to the New York Giants, with Phillip Rivers coming to the West Coast as a part of the return. The deal actually turned out to be a huge win-win. But we have the Bolts going elsewhere in a do-over. In hindsight, the Chargers probably should have kept Drew Brees after letting him carve out a Hall of Fame career in New Orleans. So how about the Chargers taking Fitzgerald here and building an offense around him, Brees, LaDainian Tomlinson, Vincent Jackson, and Antonio Gates? Brees, with a Super Bowl 44 ring and all, fared better in big games than Rivers. Surely, uniting Fitzgerald with Brees would have delivered a championship to Chargers Nation that Rivers never brought. 2005, Aaron Rodgers. The San Francisco 49ers used the number 1 pick on Utah QB Alex Smith, who had an inconsistent 8-year tenure with the Red and Gold. Rodgers, who grew up a 49ers fan, was openly upset about being passed on by his boyhood team. Somehow, Rodgers wasn't taken until the 24th spot by the Green Bay Packers. The 4-time MVP led the pack to 4 NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl title, while San Fran's Super Bowl drought has exceeded 3 decades and counting. So yeah, the 49ers needn't any hesitation here. Rodgers is the pick in a redo. 2006, Brandon Marshall. Yeah, this wasn't the strongest draft in NFL history, with special teams returner Devin Hester being the only one enshrined in the Hall of Fame. The Texans didn't necessarily strike out when they took defensive end Mario Williams with the number 1 pick in 2006, but he also didn't quite move the needle the way that his franchise wanted either. So let's go with the top wideout of this draft and Brandon Marshall. Remember, Andre Johnson is long gone in our 2003 redraft. Needing a new number 1 receiver, the Texans take the 6-time Pro Bowler who put up borderline Hall of Fame numbers despite never playing with an elite QB. It's sort of a no-brainer, honestly. 2007, Calvin Johnson. The Oakland Raiders swung and missed on LSU quarterback Jamarcus Russell, arguably the single greatest draft bust in NFL history. The Dream 07 draft class was loaded with future stars and could have double-digit Hall of Famers when all is said and done. Tough choices here, but gotta think that the Raiders go with Megatron in a do-over. If Johnson didn't retire early in 2016, he could have been on the Mount Rushmore of NFL wide receivers. He put up some jaw-dropping numbers in Detroit once Matthew Stafford arrived. And if the Raiders had taken Megatron, they would have avoided the Russell disaster and might have taken a future star quarterback in one of the ensuing drafts to complement Johnson. 2008, Matt Ryan. First overall pick Jake Long wasn't a bust by any means. I mean, he earned 4 Pro Bowl nods in his 5 seasons with the Miami Dolphins, but he also didn't exactly move the needle. Whereas number 3 pick Matt Ryan changed everything in Atlanta. The Dolphins, meanwhile, spent the first 2 decades of the 21st century in QB purgatory. If they had taken Ryan, I don't know, maybe that would have solved the issue. Who knows? 2009, Matthew Stafford. No reason for the Lions to change the initial pick. Stafford made this franchise relevant again by leading them to the postseason 3 times. And in one of the greatest win-win trades in NFL history, Stafford was swapped for Jared Goff, who emerged as the Lions' new franchise QB under Dan Campbell. 2010, Trent Williams. Injuries prevented number 1 pick Sam Bradford from fulfilling his potential with the St. Louis Rams, and he wouldn't even be a first-round selection in a real-life do-over. We know offensive line isn't always sexy, but Williams is arguably the greatest tackle in league history. Even with 14 seasons under his belt, the 11-time Pro Bowler is still playing at an incredibly high level. The Rams would have welcomed a Hall of Fame career built around longevity. 2011, Cam Newton. He probably won't join fellow 2011 draftees J.J. Watt, Julio Jones, Von Miller, Patrick Peterson, et al. In the Hall of Fame, but the Carolina Panthers cannot regret the Super Cam pick whatsoever. Injuries unfortunately ended his prime years much sooner than expected, but he gave this team 8 years of stability at QB from 2011 to 2018. Oh, and the 2015 NFL MVP award, Super Bowl 50 appearance, and 4 playoff appearances I guess don't hurt either. 2012, Russell Wilson. Andrew Luck was on a Hall of Fame path before a string of injuries cut into his prime years. Fed up with the beating his body had taken, Luck lost the desire to play and retired just before his 30th birthday in 2019. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson, a 3rd-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks that year, is still a starting quarterback. His durability, longevity, and consistent production would have made Wilson a worthwhile top pick here by the Indianapolis Colts, who possibly wouldn't be stuck in QB purgatory if Luck hadn't retired early. 2013, Travis Kelce. Eric Fisher had a solid run as an offensive lineman for the Chiefs, but he was not their best pick that year. Rather, it was Cincinnati tight end Travis Kelce, who went in round 3 at number 63 overall. The Chiefs aren't a dynasty with 3 Super Bowl rings without the Kelce-Patrick Mahomes tandem. So in this redraft, Kansas City takes 0 risks and takes the future Hall of Famer early and ensures that he remains their property for the next decade plus. 2014, Aaron Donald. Jadeveon Clowney was considered a generational QB prospect, and the QB-needy Texans couldn't pass on their chance to pair him with J.J. Watt. He wasn't a bust by any means, but Clowney never hit the superstar label that Houston had expected. So instead, the Texans blow up the NFL by taking the best defensive player of his generation in Aaron Donald. That's right, Donald and Watt, a pair of guys who combined for 6 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Goodbye, opposing QBs. It was nice knowing ya. 2015, Stephon Diggs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably don't regret taking Jameis Winston first overall, since it led to them replacing him with Tom Brady en route to a Super Bowl 55 championship. But man, we are obsessed with the idea of Diggs playing alongside Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And who knows, maybe Tampa wins more Super Bowls with this 3-headed monster at receiver. Oh geez, Baker Mayfield would be having so much fun right now too. 2016, Jared Goff. You might say Dak Prescott is a better QB than Goff. You might wonder why we don't have Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, Ezekiel Elliott, Ronnie Stanley, or Michael Thomas here. But man, Goff was instrumental in the Rams' turnaround under Sean McVay. He took them to the playoffs 3 times, including a trip to Super Bowl 53, and Goff turned into Matthew Stafford, who led the Rams to the Lombardi Trophy in 2021. If the Rams don't take Goff, well, they don't end up getting Stafford down the line. And they don't have a Super Bowl banner hanging in SoFi Stadium. 2017, Patrick Mahomes. Myles Garrett is headed to the Hall of Fame, but Mahomes might already be the 2nd best quarterback of all time, depending on who you ask. No guarantee that Mahomes pans out in Cleveland the way that he did with Andy Reid in Kansas City, but the Browns have to take that shot. A QB of his caliber comes around once in a lifetime. 2018, Saquon Barkley. Okay, hear us out. Patrick Mahomes and Saquon Barkley in the same offense. Now try telling us the Browns would screw this up and fail to become a winner under these 2 superstars. Look, we know, it's the Browns. but Mahomes and Barkley together would be unstoppable, and they would turn this team into a championship contender. Congrats to the Browns on finally having a winner again, in Imagination Land. 2019, Nick Bosa. The Arizona Cardinals have been mired in mediocrity under Kyler Murray. He boasts a 36-45-1 record and has only taken Arizona to the playoffs once. Hindsight tells us that they'd be better off going elsewhere in a do-over. Then take QB in one of the ensuing drafts. So instead of Murray, let's assign them a future Defensive Player of the Year and Nick Bosa. Arizona has lacked a game-changer off the edge since Chandler Jones' departure, but the 49ers superstar would have filled that void in Arizona over the long run. 2020, Joe Burrow. Burrow has been everything the Bengals could have dreamed of when they took him first overall in 2020. He's taken the Bengals to 2 AFC championships and 1 Super Bowl, and along with Jamar Chase, keeps their title window wide open for the long run. 2021, Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence has, well, he hasn't quite lived up to the generational label quite yet. But you know, it is still too early to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars made a mistake here. And with Jacksonville making a big-time move to land Travis Hunter, we are cautiously optimistic that T-Law will finally break out in 2025. So, the original pick stays the same. 2022, Sauce Gardner. Trayvon Walker has been a rock-solid pass rusher for the Jaguars, but their secondary has been a bit of a mess since they traded All-Pro corner Jalen Ramsey to the Rams back in 2019. Arguably the best corner in football, Gardner would give the Jaguars a franchise difference maker on that side of the ball. Plus, it is fun to imagine Gardner and two-way phenom Travis Hunter on defense together. 2023, CJ Stroud. The Panthers still have an arm and a leg to move up via the Chicago Bears and take Bryce Young with the #1 pick. He's not a bust yet, but second overall pick CJ Stroud has already emerged as a superstar for the Houston Texans. Having led Houston to consecutive division titles and wildcard round victories, Stroud would already be the top QB in the NFC South and single-handedly have Carolina in playoff contention. 2024, Caleb Williams. We know, Jaden Daniels just had the best rookie QB season in history, but that was largely thanks to him landing in the right system and coaching staff. Trust us, he would not have had that same success behind the Bears' 2024 coaching staff and offensive line. Williams still has the highest upside, and we are confident that the Chicago Bears will see his full potential under first-year head coach Ben Johnson. Do not let their rookie years make you think that the Bears made the wrong choice. Plenty of time for Williams to assert himself as the better QB. We hope. 2025, Cam Ward. Okay, this might be different in a year or two, but it is hard to fault the Tennessee Titans for rolling with Ward here. He was the most talented quarterback in a weak 2025 draft class. And come on, do we really think that Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter would have made that much of a difference on a rebuilding Titans team? Every successful rebuild starts with a franchise QB. The Titans had to roll the dice on him here. But what changes would you make to our redraft of every NFL first overall pick since 2000? Do you agree with our choices? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.